often do you open up a can of soup to start your casserole? A lot, right? I'm here to tell you that you don't need to do that, and it's gonna be almost as easy and so much fresher with so many less ingredients. Today I'm making a creamy chicken and rice casserole with a mushroom base, kind of like that classic mushroom-based casserole that you're used to eating, but oh so much better. You wanna start off by sauteing 10 ounces of mushrooms. Just brush your mushrooms off, get all that dirt out of them. Sometimes they're more dirty than others, but you definitely wanna make sure. Basically what I'm doing here is what's equivalent to the canned mushroom soup that you would normally put in here, but I'm gonna make it fresh. These mushrooms just get sliced, so then you get the nice big pieces of mushroom as opposed to those minced mushrooms that you get in a regular canned soup. You're also gonna need 2 shallots minced. If you don't have shallots, or you don't like shallots, or you have onions at home and no shallots, use a small onion. That's okay too. I'm totally on board with that. I'm totally on board with substitutions. I find it much easier to slice onions and shallots. If I keep it all the way at the edge of the board, I have more control over it. Plus, if you have your board right at the edge of your counter, you can scrape things off your board into a bowl and nothing ends up on the counter. It's just a little teeny tiny thing that makes my cooking so much easier, and it's just the little things that do it. These are gonna cook together, so add about a tablespoon of oil to a large skillet. I already have this preheating. Add the mushrooms and the shallots, and just let those saute up. The mushrooms need to release their liquid and start browning, and the shallots need to soften. That should take about 10 minutes. I'm gonna season it a little bit right now, then I'll season it again later. I know you're thinking, a little? That was about a half a teaspoon, give or take. While that's working, you can ABP, or always be prepping, by getting some more ingredients ready. I have a rotisserie chicken here, but you could certainly use leftover roast chicken, poached chicken, anything that you have on hand. I mean, casseroles really are designed to use up leftover ingredients, right? You need about 4 cups total of shredded chicken, so depending on the size of your rotisserie chicken, you may not need a whole one. The last thing we need is a little bit of chopped parsley. What a surprise, right? Parsley? You never use parsley, Sarah. Say it isn't so. It is so. Chopped parsley, about a half a cup. Coarsely chop your parsley, and then it's time to make your sauce. And then it's time to assemble. So I'm just gonna leave this here for a second. Okay, what do you know? Everything looks fantastic. Add a couple more tablespoons of oil. You're gonna make a roux in here with oil and flour, and that's gonna thicken the broth. So you're basically making a velouté, which is a thickened stock mixture, and that's the base for your soup. Add your flour, 2 tablespoons, and stir it around. You can coat your mushrooms, and you want to start just cooking off the raw flour taste, and also mixing it with the fat or the oil that you added. Pan's a little bit dry, so be careful. Just keep stirring it so that your flour does not burn. Once it no longer smells like raw flour, which shouldn't take more than 30 seconds to a minute, you can stir in your stock. This is 2 1/4 cups of low sodium chicken broth. You can definitely use homemade, but a prepared broth will be fine too. You want to add the liquid gradually to the mushroom mixture so that it doesn't get lumpy, and then you can turn your heat up a little bit. Once some of it has been added and it's smoothed out, then you can add it a little bit more speedily, and then bring it to a boil, and that'll cause the flour to thicken the entire mixture. It's thin right now, but in a minute, it'll be thick. Look at that, that's so thick, right? The flour has activated, it's doing its job. Everybody's doing their jobs. I'm doing my job, the flour's doing its job. Now you can add the chicken. 2 cups of cooked rice. You can use white, you can use brown, you know, your taste. This is just leftover Chinese food rice. You probably don't eat as much Chinese food as I do. I live in one of the best neighborhoods in New York to get Chinese food, so it's just like, there's no avoiding it. There's people throwing Chinese food at me. Eat this. You just need to bring this back to a simmer, and then you stir in a half a cup of frozen peas. These are slightly defrosted. And a half a cup of sour cream. You're gonna wanna do this turning the heat off so that the sour cream doesn't curdle. It is gonna go back into the oven, but it won't curdle in there, but it would curdle if you brought it to a boil here. You could just eat it now if you wanted to, but to make it even better and more fantastical, I'm gonna put it into a baking dish and then sprinkle breadcrumbs on top and Bake it until it's golden and bubbling in the oven. Add the parsley. Yeah, you don't have to use it, but I like it. You can leave it out if you don't have any. And then put it into an 8x8 baking dish. It's quite loose right now, but it's gonna firm up a little bit in the oven, so don't worry that it's gonna be soupy. Top it with the breadcrumbs. These are fresh breadcrumbs that you make just by pulsing white bread in the food processor. You need a half a cup. And then this goes into a 375-degree oven until bubbling in the center and golden brown on top, 15 to 20 minutes. Shall we see? Are we ready? We are indeed. Smells like comfort. Golden brown, bubbly, and fragrant, and delicious. And the extra time was totally worth it, you'll see. Yum.